Quarterbacks with a winning record against teams over 500 is Big Ben, Jimmy G, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, and Tom Brady. Nobody else.
If you're a rookie wide receiver and you're drafted by the Ravens, just consider yourself not playing week 1. Welcome back, everyone, to the A.D.D. show, where we're not always right, but we're never wrong. As always, I'm Mark.
And I'm Hans, and welcome back, everybody. It's been 2 weeks since you've heard from us last. Mark had undergone a move into his new place, so here we are. We're not in the podcast room anymore. We're in the podcast garage. It's a little warm out here, but we are going to make it work. This is fun, and I'm glad we're back. So how you doing, Mark?
I'm good. It's been a while, but not much. Sports world, some NBA signings. Kawhi Leonard signed a max with the Clippers. Luka Doncic signed a max with the Mavs. And then a bunch of wheeling and dealings. It looks like the Celtics are dropping a bunch of payroll to either make moves at next season or I don't know what they're doing. But it seems like all they have is 3 players right now that are worth a damn. Lakers made that deal with Westbrook. Again, I think we've already talked about it. I don't know if that works. MLB is the MLB. It's the dog days of August, and nobody really cares about the Major League Baseball right now. And
they care a week before the season starts, and then All-Star, and now a little bit before the playoffs. That's about it.
You knew who the teams were. That's the problem with baseball is you know who the teams are going to be in the playoffs before the season starts.
Yep.
And so it's just hard to watch and pay attention to the season, especially when your team's not one of those teams.
Well, exactly.
But NFL-wise, first week of preseason happened.
Yep.
Nothing exciting happened. No major injuries. No, everybody's talking about the rookies. And I asked an interesting question on Facebook, and I would like us to do a little bit deeper of a dive into it. The should they or will they? Should they start? Will they start? Obviously, Lawrence and Wilson, should they start? Yes. Will they start? Yes. Both of those are 100% yeses that they will start. There is nobody else on the Jets, so he has no competition.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I don't think there's any competition anywhere for him.
Right, and then there's...
Sorry for anybody else to take it from him. Sorry.
Right, and then there's Jacksonville. Lawrence is... If Minshew beats him out, then every single person in the world was wrong about Trevor Lawrence. But he looked good in his first game. So I want to talk about the next 3. So we can go in order of when they were drafted. So the next one would be Trey Lance. Should he start? Will he start? And what do you think?
I said no and no.
No and no?
Yeah. I say no because I still think Jimmy Garoppolo is the better quarterback. I've been hard on him, and I looked up a lot of stats. He is one of... I will go into this with my hot take later. I got a hot clock. Jimmy Garoppolo is one of 6 quarterbacks with a winning percentage against winning teams. Mm-hmm. And I will say this. We make this joke with Dak a lot, but in general, only 6 quarterbacks active have a winning percentage against winning teams. And you'll be surprised whose names are not on that list. It's a very short list of quarterbacks, and... Yes, he may not have the most flashy stats. He may have Baker Mayfield-like type numbers. But again, what I want to say, he just reminds me of somebody I've underrated for years, and that's Kirk Cousins. He gets the job done. He doesn't do anything spectacular. He gets his work done with his legs. He doesn't really turn the ball over. His team was completely battered last year, and I don't think that's on him. Okay. He also has a really good winning percentage against winning teams. I think they should roll with him unless they start to see he takes a steep decline, and at the end of this year, look at moving Garoppolo. But I think they should give Lance a full year to learn behind him because these quarterbacks all played in the preseason. It's preseason. Let's not get hype over that.
Well, no, I'm thinking he's the only one on this list that will be both no's.
I do too.
And it's not just the fact that, he's only played 1 game in the last year.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. Yeah. And I don't care about the competition. Football, to me, that where they are, they dominated where they were. And you're playing it's not, Division 1, but it's not they could beat the worst Division 1 team. They could beat many Division 1 teams. So I like that North Dakota State. Was that who we played
NDSU.
for? Yeah. So I don't feel like it's the competition thing. I think it's simply He's just not ready yet. He's got the potential. He's got the raw talent.
Yeah.
But I think you hit it right on the head where Jimmy Garoppolo is just better than he is.
Well, here's the other thing, too. It's if you're the 49ers, who are you, right? Are you win now with the team you have in the division you're in?
Oh, 100%.
Then I think 100% your move is Garoppolo. I think
Yes.
he's more experienced. I think he knows the team better, and he's the older quarterback. Now, if you're a team if you think you're the fourth best team in that league, and let's say this is an Eagles situation, then you roll with the rookie. You have nothing to lose.
Okay, so in that scenario, if we'll throw Washington out there because
Okay.
Washington, we always said, is a quarterback away from being very good.
Okay.
Okay, would you start him in Washington or would you roll with Fitzpatrick?
I think the leash is shorter on Fitzpatrick than Garoppolo. Sorry, my head wasn't there. I think the leash is shorter on Fitzpatrick than Garoppolo. What I mean by that is if Trey Lance was in D.C., I think it'd be a neck-and-neck competition week one. But
Okay.
I think you're more than likely to start Garoppolo because a little younger, a little more mobile, he has a better record.
Okay, so there's chances, like if he was in Fields' position, if he was in,
Yes.
in a situation like that, you would change your mind to
Yes.
should he? It would be yes. Will he? Probably no.
Yes,
type
that's
thing.
what I would say. If
Okay.
it was a field situation like that, I would change my mind. But I do think Garoppolo's been a little bit devalued by me. I think he's a decent starter, and I think they
Okay.
should roll with him.
All right. So next is Justin Fields.
Yep.
We'll roll right into him. Justin Fields. I feel it's yes and yes.
Okay.
Should he? Yes. Will he? I think he will. I think he'll beat out Dalton. The simple reason why is you know what you have in Dalton, and it's at this stage in his career, it's not very good.
Yeah.
You are a team that made the playoffs last year. You're in a division that arguably is very, very top heavy, but you can make the playoffs.
Yeah.
If you have a winning record, and you were a game off, you were 7-9 last year.
Mhm.
So you were a game away from 500 with Mitchell Trubisky. I think Fields with Nagy as his quarterbacks coach. Nagy loves those types of quarterbacks. Nagy became Nagy, like the name you wanted to hear, when he was offensive coordinator in Kansas City, and he had Alex Smith rolling out, moving around the pocket, and throwing like on the move and play action. And Alex Smith threw for ungodly numbers in Kansas City, and then yes, he got benched. He got traded, and then Mahomes took over. But I look at that where Fields fits Nagy's offense, where they wanted Mitchell Trubisky to do that, and he couldn't because Mitchell Trubisky didn't have the arm strength to get it done. Fields has good arm strength.
Yeah.
And with that rollout style, you're only asking him to read half the field. So even if he can't read the whole field, you're still only asking him to read half. So I think it's a will yes and a should yes. I think both are yeses for Fields.
I have a yes and no. I think he should start because I think he's more dynamic, and I think he gives him the best chance to win. And I think when you saying that with Nagy makes sense because I don't always pay attention to Nagy and knowing his background. But I think at the end of the day, I'm not saying Dalton will win the job, but we know what Dalton is, but we don't know what Dalton is with the Bears. That's my only thing is I haven't seen much of him in their camp. I think he did play a little bit, right? Or did he not play at all? I know I watched.
I don't think he played at all.
Okay, and so to me, you play the rookie, obviously, to get experience. But if you're not playing Dalton, it gives me the idea that this is Dalton's job to lose. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I think even if Dalton goes in, of all the quarterbacks we're going to go through, we're outside if you guys hear things, sorry. And we got a fan, so if you hear it every few minutes, it's a little warm, okay? I think Justin Fields, and some we're going to mention later, their starter in front of them's leash is very short.
Yes.
Right? And I think, not this quarterback, I think the other one we're going to get to in a minute is even shorter, but I think Dalton has 3 to 4 games, maybe if that. If it's 0-2, 0-3, he's out. And Fields will go in. Unless Fields does exactly what he did in the first preseason game, he'll keep going. And I think what helps Fields, honestly, is the amount of memes in the world, the amount of sports talk about him being a god all of a sudden. Because Chicago hasn't had this for a long time.
Well, yeah, and I think that's
the
why
hype, the fans are probably going to make the decision. Let me not say that. Hold up. I think the fans and the social media might make the decision for Nagy easier. They're going to want him to start.
The thing is, though, is this is Nagy, and excuse me for not knowing the GM's name off the tip of my tongue, but this is their job.
Yeah.
If they don't win this year or show major improvement, they're gone.
Yeah.
That is why Fields has to start week 1. Because then you have that, what's the word? You have that excuse.
Yeah.
If you start slow but finish fast.
Yeah.
Hey, look at what we did with the rookie. The rookie. It's a rookie quarterback. He had his growing pains, but look what we did at the end of the year. And if they show improvement and at the end of the year, then I think they keep their jobs.
I think there's a really high chance that Justin Fields starts. I just, as of right now, after 1 week of preseason, it's so hard to say that. I don't know what direction they want to go in, but Dalton not playing, Dalton being a 12-year veteran, I still think week 1, Dalton gives you the best chance to win a game week 1. But I don't know. I'm probably really wrong because, again, we were wrong on a lot of quarterbacks. Even to me as a Dallas fan, I absolutely was one of the first people to say, don't put that fifth-string quarterback in. I mean, that fifth-round pick. Do not do that. I'd rather roll with Sanchez. And boy, was I wrong. Yeah. Right? Does that make sense? So Fields might be the dude. And Nagy will know if he's the dude or not. They have a good wide receiver. They have decent running back depth. I don't know. But I would say as of right now, recording the day we're recording, I'm going to say yes and no.
Okay. Now we're going to go to probably a hot spot. I know he's an Alabama quarterback, Mac Jones, Alabama product. Alabama quarterbacks don't succeed. Alabama quarterbacks don't do well. I can't argue that. There's no argument for that. The thing I will say, though, is none of them went to an offensive coordinator or a coach in Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels. Not a single one of them ever made in the past made a pick that was 199th and made him relevant. And you got to remember, Tom Brady didn't, had Hall of Fame careers, but the beginning of his career where they, Charlie Weiss had him, McDaniels was the quarterback's coach, and, these guys were they made Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And Mac Jones has all the tools to do the job. And that is what the Patriots want, is somebody to do the job. They want somebody to check down when you have to check down. They want somebody to take the chance when they want to take the chance. They want somebody to not make mistakes. That is not Cam Newton. Cam Newton is way past his prime. And it's obvious. And everything I'm reading, because I follow a lot of Patriot, like the way you follow Dallas and some other teams, and Nate follows a lot of teams and everything like that. I follow the Bengals and I follow the Patriots, like all the beat writers, and everybody is saying how huge the gap is between the talent between the both of them, and how Mac Jones is outperforming, and outdoing everything that Cam Newton needs to do. And he had a very good first preseason game. He's a rookie. He's going to get hit. He's going to have his yips. He's going to have his mistakes. I'm not saying he's going to be perfect, but I'm saying the Patriots are rolling with him week 1. And I'm saying, should he start 100%? Yes, because he's way better than Cam Newton at this point. And will he start? I'm 50-50. I think Bill Belichick might pull the whole, we can win with Cam Newton type thing. But the fact that he hasn't named a starter yet, and the fact that he will probably not name a starter until preseason is over.
Well, there's no reason to.
It just, for me, it speaks volumes. Yeah. And it may be Belichick just being Belichick and knowing that people want to talk about it and he doesn't want to talk about it. But at the same time, I look at it as Mac Jones can do more in this offense, the offense that they want to run, the offense that they brought in players to run. He can do more than what Cam Newton can.
I think for me, the hard part is, I'll agree with you with the Alabama quarterback thing. Watching college football as much as I do, I could be wrong on Mac Jones, and I probably am. I'm not saying he's the worst quarterback in this draft. I'm also not going to say he's one of the best top. I don't think he's top 2 in this draft. I'll say he's right comfortably at 3. That's just me. Okay. I think from what I've been watching, and I'm gonna move Justin Fields at number 2 spot right now, and that's not just preseason. That's just I went back and watched some college film, some college tape, combine, some stuff like that. Okay, let me put it this way: I agree with you 100%. You said yes and yes, but I'm gonna say yes
and 50-50.
That's what I was about to say. Mine is yes and no, but I'm gonna go with 50% because I think he's the better quarterback than Cam Newton, 100%.
Okay.
But I will say this. I know you're high on the Patriots offense. I'm not. And then a lot of people aren't.
Okay.
They don't have, to me, a number one wide receiver that would be number two on someone else's team. Their tight ends are good, and they're missing one for 6. It's going to be out for months now. I understand.
Starting the season whenever they ever.
Oh, I know. But I'm using this as an example. You have a lot of decent talent around him, but the problem is when you have a quarterback with an arm like that, I'm afraid he's going to pull some overthrowing issues, unless he does a lot of checkdowns, which he has the opportunity to do. Mm-hmm. He's got a cannon. Whereas Cam Newton, with the talent of wide receivers you have, the talent of running backs, the what's his name, James White, the amount of pass-catching running backs they have, it makes sense to have a short 10-yard, I don't want to say Ravens-like, but a shorter passing, running quarterback option. And I think they're going to roll with Cam week 1 because I feel like Cam is obviously, just like Dalton, more experienced. He knows the offensive better, but that leash is short. I don't think Cam Newton gets to play all year with 4 passing touchdowns like he did last year, or 6, whatever it was. I think he goes out week 1 and does let's say a 10 for 30, 2 interceptions, he's done. But again, this is my other thing. I don't know Belichick like you know Belichick. I mean, I know you don't know him personally, obviously, but maybe Belichick says, I'm safe. I got 7 years on my contract. We'll sit him all year. We don't need to win right now. But he wants to win, but maybe he wants to do the Mahomes method, the Brady method, groom this guy to make sure he's everything he wants the day he comes in without the yips. And again, 1 year as a starter, he might have those. It's really hard to tell. Yeah. Again, I'm not a huge fan of 1 year starters. 4 years in college, sure, but he did spend years in college, but he did get one crazy good year, and then he's gone. Yeah. My worry is that he's not quite ready, and Cam Newton's nowhere near ready. But between the eyes, I think Cam Newton might be more experienced. Does that make sense? Okay. Read the defense better.
Yeah. So here's my thing with, aging quarterbacks. Okay, it's sort of like, I'll use it in terms of the reason why I don't play basketball anymore. Okay. And not just because I'm old and I'd probably hurt myself.
You would do both. Yeah.
It's because in my head, I can do it.
Yeah.
And my body doesn't understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, so in my head, I can shoot threes like nobody else. I can, get to the basket. I can do whatever. Reality is I can't.
No.
In Cam's head, he can still do it.
Yeah.
But he can't.
But see, I also wonder, the hard part is he had a bad year last year. They did bring in 2 good tight ends for him. They did bolster the O-line. Defensive players are coming back. I wonder if with better pieces this year, not a COVID year, he actually gets preseason. He didn't have preseason last year. Mm-hmm. It makes me wonder if maybe he gets a little bit longer of a leash, being that this is year 2. All the circumstances of last year. Like I said, they brought in Hunter Henry, who's going to be out. He'll be back around week 4, they're thinking. They brought in is it Jonnu Smith? Is that
Jonnu
the other
Smith, yep.
Jonnu Smith. They have Jacoby Myers. I don't know the other wide receivers. I know they have James White. They have the Alabama kid, right? The running back they used last year. Big boy.
No.
Is he Alabama?
Sonny Michel.
There's another one. He was a rookie last year.
Damian Harris.
He's Alabama.
Is he?
Yeah, I think so. I think he was a backup. Yeah, I think he's Alabama.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll have to search it in a minute. But I think for me, I wouldn't. Let's put it this way, Mark. I wouldn't be surprised if Justin Fields and Mac Jones start week 1. I would not go, wow, I didn't see that coming. I definitely see all 5 of these quarterbacks start in week 1. I could see it.
Okay.
I just think the way Belichick does things, I think he might not name a starter because he wants to see Mac Jones give all of his ass every single week. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Because if he says, oh, Mac, you're the starter, he might not fight as hard in preseason. So don't tell him. And don't let anybody know. Okay. So that's the way I look at that.
Yep. So then you had an interesting thing. It says, name this NFL player. It says, production off the charts, talent off the charts, recognition very little.
Yeah.
So we had a bunch of people chime in and say some stuff, and, it was interesting. A couple that I want to get to. I want to get your take on it because I answered them, and you did not. So on the post. So I want to get your opinion.
I've been at work, and then I drove here. So.
Yeah. So Mark Andrews, Jake Windsor. Jake listens to the show. He's funny story. We met Jake through a girl, Kelsey, that we worked with at Olympia Sports, me, Nate, and Chandler.
Mm-hmm.
And he came over the house one night, and the 3 of us were like, nah, we're not going to like this dude. Nah, we're not going to like this. We ended up liking him more than we liked Kelsey. Sorry, Kelsey. But we ended up liking him more than we liked Kelsey. It was funny. But he said Mark Andrews. So what I simply put was, Andrews is the least talked about tight end that is probably 4th or 5th best in the league. He's a stud. Think about if he had, let's say, say if he had Mahomes, okay, a serviceable quarterback like Garoppolo,
a passing quarterback,
okay, and or who's the third bet? Waller had Derek Carr. Would Mark Andrews be 1st, 2nd, or 3rd in the league as tight end? Think about the numbers this man's put up with a quarterback that can't get him the ball.
Yeah, he had 700 yards last year, 7 touchdowns on 58 receptions. So
how many games?
I don't have that pulled up. I'll pull it up right now.
Okay.
So last year, games started in 2020. It looks he played 14 games last year.
Okay, so missed 2 games.
Missed 2 games. 2019, he played 15 games, and 16 year before. So he's played 45 of 48 eligible regular season games.
Okay.
He has 701 yards last year, 852 the year before, 552 his rookie year. He has his most is 10 touchdowns, so he has a total of 20. He had 10 last year, 2019, not 2020. That was his Pro Bowl year.
Okay.
On average, he averaged about 13 yards a target, and his long of 74. His catch percentage is 65%.
Right.
So, to me, this is no different than 2 years of Hawkinson, Irv Smith. I don't see him as a spectacular tight end, but I also think the way they play ball limits his numbers.
Okay.
I think you put him on a team that needs a tight end, like I don't know, pick a team that really, really needs a tight end, any of them,
yep.
and I think he would do very well.
Okay.
I will say, I don't want to say underrated, and I don't want to say he's overrated. I would put him more on the underrated side, obviously, but I don't look at him as being underrated because he doesn't get talked about enough, but his numbers also, he's never had over 850 yards in a year, which I get is a lot, yes, don't get me wrong, but he only had 701 last year. I would love to see where that ranks with all tight ends last year, and he missed 2 games. So we'll say if he missed 2 games, he averages what? I don't even know what it says, but averages 60 yards a game. 700 yards really isn't that many yards for a tight end. Yeah. But, again, give him Mahomes. Put him in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Put him in Tom Brady's offense. He's a 1,000-yard tight end.
Okay.
100%. Yeah.
So that's where
if that's what we mean by underrated, then sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a shame, but it is one of those things where I think he's vastly underrated, where people like, and we'll do the fantasy world, because everybody's talking about fantasy. People are putting him below Hawkinson now.
Yeah. People
are putting him below, a couple different people, and it's like, why?
Yeah.
And I don't understand why, because one, I'm high on Hawkinson as a top 6, 7 tight end this year, but at the same 5, 6, 7 around there. But at the same time, he's got a different quarterback that doesn't like throwing the ball to tight ends.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford will throw the ball to anybody. He doesn't care. If you're open or if you prove you can make the catch, he's going to throw it to you.
Yeah. And
that's why, it's just interesting to me why, Andrews is, and I guarantee you it's because of the quarterback. It's not because of him. So the other one is Kyle put Mike Evans.
Yeah.
And I almost laughed.
I did too.
Because Mike Evans, to me, before last year, was easily a top 5 wide receiver in the league. And considered a top 5 wide receiver in the league. And last year was a down year for him. He didn't get over 1,000 yards. He didn't get 100 catches. But he didn't care. Yeah. And Brady's just going to pass the ball to whoever's open. Yeah. And I would like to see more chemistry between them this year. And I think they'll have it. Because at the end of the year last year, he was looking for him in the red zone.
I think he had the best chemistry with Godwin by far. Him and Godwin connected very, very well.
Yep, and and Brady will hit that guy that's Evans has to improve a little bit more on his route running instead of his DK Metcalf running.
Yeah.
And I can jump higher than you, and Jameis Winston's going to throw me the ball because I can jump higher than you. Yeah. And
Mike Evans makes the catches Odell wishes he was still making. That's the thing. And for me, I want to go into Mike.
2 backhanded comments to on Browns players today.
What was the other one?
About Baker. You always slap Baker.
No.
He always puts up Baker numbers, but I think he could be pretty, you know.
Baker, Kirk Cousins, anybody listening, tell me I'm wrong. They're just quarterbacks.
Okay.
They're decent quarterbacks.
Okay.
They're nothing special. They're not going to do anything over the top.
I wouldn't take Baker on my fantasy team, but I would have Baker leading my team.
Absolutely. But I'm using that they're average to middle starting quarterbacks. They're going to get the job done, but they're not the reason you're going to go deep in the playoffs. Not because of their talent. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's all it is.
Okay.
Baker Mayfield, 3,000 yards. He doesn't hit 5,000. He doesn't hit 4,000.
Okay.
That's all.
All right.
So, Mike Evans. Yeah, when I saw this comment, I did like it because I wanted to show the support. I don't see Mike Evans as underrated at all. I see him as people stopped talking about him.
Yeah.
I don't say that makes him underrated. I would say, to me, for years, Mike Evans has been one of, if not the best, quiet sleeper players that, again, I guess you could say underrated. Nobody talks about him, but he's stud. It just depends on how you mean underrated, because to me, if you just click on their stats, he has 4,000 yard receiving seasons in a row.
Yeah.
That's not underrated, but maybe underrated in the eyes of ESPN and what they talk about. I can see that. But for me, Mike Evans, I'm not going with underrated at all. I think if anything, he's just getting quieter, and that's even more deadly for him.
Okay. So a couple people that Nate threw out there. One I agree with 100%. One I don't understand. Nate's mentioned this dude's name many times. I think Nate is a closet Brandon Cooks fan. And I don't get it. I don't see it. And I don't know what I would love to get Nate's take. I did ask him, what is it with you and Brandon Cooks? I don't understand it. He puts up decent numbers, but he's not for me, he was when the Rams went to the Super Bowl, he was the second best wide receiver on that team. On the Patriots, he was the best wide receiver on that team. And I just don't see him, last year with the Texans, I didn't see it. He misses too many games, and he's, to me, a Deshaun Jackson type. So that's my take on him. And I don't like him. I guess I just don't like him. I wouldn't want him on my team. There's a reason why he's been on so many teams. And it can't be a good thing.
So I'll put it this way. I think I have to agree with Nate. Sorry. I'm just looking up stats. I don't know a lot about Brandon Cooks. He never really played for my team, right? He's quietly a sleeper. Okay, so I looked up his numbers here, right? Hold up. Phone's being dumb. There it is. So I hate this website. I swear if anybody uses Pro Football Reference, it's annoying. So Brandon Cooks, he played 15 games last year.
Yep.
He missed one. He played 14 games with LA the year before, 16 the year before, 16, 16, 16, 16, 10. He has played 103 games out of 110 total games he could have played. He's only missed 7.
Okay.
Now, I will say that's probably not Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson misses at least 10 games a year.
I think, yeah. So that's,
the dude's
right,
pretty big. Yeah. But I will also say this. The year you said he was the second best wide receiver for the Rams, I assume that's the year he had 80 catches, 1,200 yards, 5 touchdowns. Yep. I don't know who the number one was. Was it Kupp?
No, it was Woods.
Did Woods have more than 1,200 yards that year?
I think he had just under, but he had more catches.
More catches. So I'd say 80 receptions is nuts. He had 81 last year with Houston and 1,200 yards again, 6 touchdowns. He doesn't average a lot of touchdowns, but he gets a lot of catches. I would say a lot. 81, 42, 80, 65, 78, 84, 53. I will say he's probably quietly a top 15 wide receiver in the league, 20, somewhere around there with his numbers.
Oof.
The dude's got almost over 7,000 yards.
And I know Nate will probably come out with player A, player B.
Yeah.
And I'll pick player B, and it's Brandon Cooks, and he'll be like, "See, told you."
Are you using more of the eye test?
Yeah. We get on DK all the time. Why?
He runs one route.
Right.
And because it makes Logan
mad. So if you compare, mainly because it makes Logan mad. But yes. But if you compare his stats to his stats,
okay,
I guarantee you they're close.
Give me 1 second.
70, 80 catches a year. Does DK get over 80 catches in his first 2 years?
Let's see. I'll tell you. So, DK Metcalf, in his rookie year, had 58 receptions for 900 yards.
Yep.
He had 83 last year for 1,300.
Okay, so again,
they had the exact same numbers last year, except for he had 4 more receiving touchdowns.
So they both run straight really well.
Yeah.
Okay, and maybe Cooks, he runs maybe those screen passes a little bit better, things like that. I don't see it, and maybe because the most I've ever watched him was with the Patriots, and I didn't see it. So it was like you have the best quarterback in the game. He still had a dirty arm.
Yeah.
And so I mean,
maybe
stats wise, he should probably be talked about as one of the better. So I'll say that, but I can't. When you say Brandon Cooks, are you would you really think you're going to put him as a top 20 wide receiver? Think about that. That's it. For me, you're not going to do that.
I would. Okay, so if we take 20 teams, okay, let me say this. I believe he could start as a number 1 for the bottom 12 teams in a league. Does that make sense? I don't think you put him on Dallas. I don't think you put him on the Chiefs as a number 1 or a 2. But if you're talking the Ravens, he could start there. Houston, he would start there. I think he'd be the best wide receiver on the Jaguars. Stuff like that. Does that make sense? I'm not going to say. Let me rescind my top 20. What I mean is he's good enough to be a starter on almost any team he's been on. And if the Patriots had him now, they'd be lucky to have him. Because they could use his talent now with this rookie quarterback.
Is he better than Keenan Allen?
No.
Okay, his stats say he is.
Are they better?
Yeah.
Are they?
Keenan Allen will have more catches, not as many yards.
Yeah, I say Keenan Allen gets a lot of volume.
Okay.
He gets a lot of catches.
Is he better than Terry McLaurin?
Eye test, I would say no, but I guess the numbers are better, right? I guess we're going to have to say they are. Last year they were.
Godwin,
right?
Evans.
Godwin only had 800 yards, yeah. I mean, then I guess the more this goes into it, the more you could say he is a top 20 wide receiver.
But you wouldn't take him in the top 20.
I guess I wouldn't until this conversation.
Right? But that's what I'm saying. Yeah. And so maybe Nate is 100% correct that he's a sleeper because you don't talk about him, but he puts up those numbers. And my thing is, I'm looking at it as, I don't, you wouldn't, I'm going to name Steelers, no. You wouldn't put I'd rather have, Chase, Deontay Johnson, and not Juju, but.
I would take Deontay Johnson, and I would probably want Cooks than Chase, yeah.
But.
Chase.
Yeah, I mean, Miami, he'd probably be number 1, number 2, number 1.
Hurts is hurt. That's another person out. But yeah, the thing is now looking at his numbers, he is quietly a sleeper pick.
Yeah. So
I think the reason why I wouldn't pick McLaurin over or possibly Keenan Allen is I think the volume they get, the amount of receptions they get, they are the clear number 1 on their team, and they're going to be the clear number 1. And I also think Brandon Cooks will be this year too, because who knows who's starting a quarterback there?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, what would you say? Now, before we get into a couple more, so Keenan Allen.
Yes.
You think Keenan Allen is underrated, or do you think he's?
I think he's rated perfectly. I think he gets talked about in the top 10 of wide receivers often, and I think that's perfect for him. Ever since Phillip Rivers, he's pretty much averages probably 100. I bet he averages 100 receptions a year on average.
Last year he had 100 catches.
Yeah.
He had 100 catches. And I would say, so Keenan Allen, all right? So his first 4 years, 71, 77, 67, 6.
Okay.
He was hurt the whole year.
Yeah.
His rookie year, 1,000 yards.
Yep.
Okay, 8 touchdowns. 783, 725. Okay. Now, the 2016, he was hurt. He had 6 catches for 63 yards, no touchdowns. 2017, 102 catches, 1,393 yards, 6 touchdowns. 2018, 97, 1,196, 6 touchdowns. 2019, 104, 1,200 yards, 6 touchdowns. Last year, 100 receptions, 992, 8 touchdowns.
If it wasn't for 1,000 yards, he would have 5 straight like Mike Evans.
Yes.
That's so 8 yards he missed it by.
Yes.
That's not, to me, I've never looked at him as underrated. I know the guys here know I was big on Herbert. Before Herbert, Keenan Allen has always been one of my favorite wide receivers in the league, and other than his health at times.
And I think the fact that he didn't have rapport with Keenan Allen, I mean with Justin Herbert is the reason why he didn't have a 1,000-yard season. Yeah. You give him a couple games, again, 8 yards.
Yeah.
But so I look at Keenan Allen as probably should be considered a top 10 wide receiver. Not easily a number 1 wide receiver, in my opinion. But I wanted to get your take because you didn't answer the question. You just put the poll up. You didn't answer the question. I think you said McLaurin.
Yeah, I said McLaurin,
which I don't think he's slept on. I think he's right where he should be. I think he's talked about just enough, and he's never had a quarterback to throw him the ball, and he's put up numbers. But he has still been the one that's talked about on Washington the most.
Well, I would say talked on Washington the most, but when I see the top 10 polls of receivers going into this year, voted by USA Today and all that kind of stuff, McLaurin is still constantly behind Amari Cooper. I've seen him even multiple things listed behind C.D. Lamb. And I'm using Dallas, for example, for Nate and Logan and the other Dallas fans. It is mind-blowing that he's listed behind those two. And I love Amari Cooper. That dude catches any ball near him.
Okay.
But they are not the same, and I've seen things where they've even had wide receivers like to me, I know Keenan Allen's been up there. They've had other wide receivers up there, and to me, I'm like, Terry McLaurin, yes, gets mentioned because he's the best on the DC team, but I do feel like when they have a list and they put out the top 10 wide receivers or they advertise best players in the league, young players, McLaurin should be in that picture every single time.
Okay.
But my other player that I did not say, which I was going to, but I had to leave for work, was I was going to say Matthew Stafford.
Okay.
I think Matthew Stafford, and I wouldn't say necessarily part of the picture, let's go to the picture, says production. If production we mean championships or titles, we're going to take that out. I'm just going to say he produces numbers. He's extremely talented, and he never got the proper recognition because of the team he was on.
Okay.
And I think maybe with the Rams, people are going to go, wow, that's a Pro Bowl quarterback. And he might revitalize his career.
Okay.
But other than that, everything everybody else named, I like what people said.
So Jarvis Landry?
Yeah, I think Jarvis Landry gets slept on a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, I would take him over Odell on my team.
Okay.
I would.
And again, he's only had 2 years where he's had over 100 catches.
Yep.
He's only had 3 years over 1,000 yards, which surprised me.
Yeah.
But he's solid. He's averaged probably last year was his lowest amount of receptions by far, which he only had 72.
Is he better as a wide receiver too on a team? Does that make sense?
Oh, he's a slot. That's what I'm saying. Yes, he's
not
better,
the number. He doesn't play well if he's the number 1 ball handler.
Right.
He's not a Keenan Allen. He's not a McLaurin. He's not a Cooper. Well, probably this year till CD takes over. But that's what I mean. He's not the number 1 quarterback hike. Looks right to the left. He's not that guy. Okay. So he's not going to get a lot of yardage anyways.
Yeah. And so then I mentioned Tyler Boyd. Okay. And you said last 3 years. Last year, I'm taking out the last few games because they didn't have a quarterback to throw them the ball. But he had 76, 90, and 79. Those are his catches.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 1,000, 841 last year. Not a lot of touchdowns ever. 7, 5, and 4. Okay, he's going to be in the slot again this year. I think he's slept on as far as being consistent and slowly, like with those stats, 79 for 841. That's a good year for having no quarterback.
So I wasn't saying, when I commented on that, I wasn't saying he's not the best slot. He is probably one of the few wide receivers, including Cole Beasley, that will only play in the slot. Does that make sense? I mentioned Godwin and Kupp because they play all over the field, but when they both are in the slot, their production numbers are like rated in the 90s, meaning they produce very well there.
Yep.
And I wasn't saying Boyd isn't the best slot receiver. Boyd is one of the best wide receivers in the league at his position. And I think it also helps that he has a lot of talent around him. I don't think the numbers are going to look the same this year with another target to feed. I think the numbers will come down having Chase there, but that doesn't mean he's not the best slot. I think he is very much slept on. I think he is probably the most slept on player in all of this list.
But, more than Allen Robinson?
Oh, but no, did Allen Robinson get listed?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see that. I missed that.
Logan put Allen Robinson in.
I will say, other than Allen Robinson is one of the most disrespected players in the league. Never gets any recognition at all. I'll be honest. I just don't. I never see it. But me with Boyd, the hard part is I will say you have to include those numbers in there because I will say CeeDee Lamb had almost 1,000 yards without Dak. So we'll put those yards in there without your quarterback being there because he's on the field, he's going to get catches. And
Yeah.
Boyd he's the receiver I'm thinking of that averaged a lot, like 10 catches for like 60 yards for a lot of games, right?
Yeah.
He had a lot of the dink and dunks. He got all that.
And that's why I think when people say he's not going to get the love, I think he's going to get even more love this year.
He could.
Think about and I'll simply put it this way. You have on your team, if you had a legit slot wide receiver, okay, who would you say out of your 3 on Dallas is your slot wide receiver?
C.D. Lamb played the slot 85% of the season last year.
Okay.
He's going to be in the slot this year.
If you had, Gallup doesn't scare me.
No.
Because the connection with him and Dak we've talked about it
been
many
shaky.
times.
Yeah, it's been very shaky. I don't know if it's Dak, I don't know if it's Gallup, but I agree with you.
I'm looking at it as Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to bracket them.
Yeah.
That means Tyler Boyd's got a linebacker.
Yep.
And or a safety on him in the middle.
Yeah.
And I will tell you this, I will take that matchup just like I would take if you had that second scary wide receiver, like that second guy that, where CD, if he's up against a tight end, if he's up against a linebacker or a safety, you take that matchup 100% of the time, all the time.
Here's the thing where I am going to agree with you, but I'm extending an olive branch out. When I was listening to a podcast, they said the 2 scariest offenses in the league, and everybody can hear this if they want to, the 2 scariest offenses in the league, if you're a defenseman, to not sleep at night, is the Bengals and the Dallas Cowboys. And the reason is because both of those teams have easily 3 1,000-yard wide receivers on their team. Gallup has been close every year in the 800s. He had 800 yards last year. C.D. Lamb had 990, like right around Keenan Allen's numbers, right? Right around 992. And then Amari had over 1,000 again, or he was close because he got hurt. The point is like same thing with your team. Gallup doesn't scare you, but still the way like not Boyd, who was the other one you mentioned? T. Higgins. T. Higgins and Gallup are probably what you would consider the Ys, that right side wide receiver on the right side of the field. Both of them to any defense, you're going to focus on Cooper and you're going to focus on Chase. And then you're going to probably put your number 2 on, I would say if they're smart, Boyd. But that just leaves now your number 3 open. No team in the league, I don't care who you name, no team in the league can stop 3 wide receivers that can all produce 1,000 yards. Here's something even better that both the Bengals and Dallas have. They both have pass-catching running backs that average 5 to 10 catches a game.
Yes.
That's the other thing. So now you have 4 mouths to feed that defenses don't know how to stop it. Like, I even use DC, for example. Their defensive line is great, but do they got 3 defensive backs enough to stop those 3? CD needs 2 people on him, and Cooper needs 2 people on him. Yeah. That's one of the benefits of having a Bengals offense this year. Why me and him, we talk about our team so much, because I'm more than excited to see this team a full season with Dak and CD. You having now Burrow back, assuming he's 100% to go week 1. These 2 offenses, we get hyped about them because to me these 2 offenses are absolutely going to be nasty. And I know maybe not production, and maybe not the way they look, but they're possibly the 2 best offenses going into the season with the most firepower.
I mean, I just want to say, like, you're looking at it, and I would say besides, so you had Justin Jefferson.
Yep.
took the top off.
Yep.
Like, he made it possible to talk about Jamar Chase being a number 1 wide receiver right off the bat, where before you never talked about a rookie wide receiver being number 1 and doing those things. Never. And it was sort of like a rookie quarterback taking his lumps type thing. Now, I want to just say, Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk, Jerry Jeudy. Those were the top wide receivers last year for rookies. Okay? Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, and Brandon Ayuk. I think Brandon Ayuk, out of all 3, is the most slept on. I think Brandon Ayuk is the number 1 wide receiver in San Francisco, and I think he's going to put up
He's better
numbers.
Than Debo?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So here's my thing about
better
Brandon
at route running. Debo's more of the this is not a slight. He's more of a Curtis Samuel.
Yeah.
Where you can bring him in motion, give him the toss, you can bring him in motion, and he can run, he's faster and he's agile, like he can move.
I think one of the problems with Brandon Ayuk is he was injured the first 6 weeks of the season, right? He didn't come in till more than what? I mean, I don't have it pulled up here, but I do believe he got injured in the preseason, and he was injured well before even the first game of the season. So once he started getting numbers, Jefferson, Lamb, Higgins, these guys were running away with it already. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I do believe he only probably played, 10 games? I think you're looking it up, right?
I'm looking it up, yeah. I'm trying to...
You don't have the Wi-Fi hooked up yet, so it's a little slower to load things.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see his stats. I'm bringing up other things that I'm looking at like, oh, yeah, okay.
It is a podcast. We can do what we want. It's ours.
And
yeah.
So,
go ahead.
60 catches, 748 yards, 5 touchdowns.
How many games did he play?
That's a good question.
It's a GS if you pulled up Pro Football Stats.
Why won't you tell me how many games he played?
I got you, bud.
Yeah, because I can't figure it out to save my life.
We're both trying to load here. We don't have the Wi-Fi hooked up, so you don't get a lot of signal here.
All right, game log.
Yep.
He played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 games.
Okay, so he missed the first 4.
12
then.
Christmas. The day after Christmas was his... No, 12, 20, 12, 13. Okay, so... Wow, that's weird. So he missed a lot of games early.
Yes, early.
And
then balled out to end the last few weeks of the season.
Yeah. So he had a stretch. So he had a stretch in the middle where he was really, really good. Towards the end, he was really, really good.
So here's the problem. Because he missed the first 4 weeks, and let's just use example. Sorry, I got to say Dallas again. Dak was healthy those first 4 weeks. Right? So was Justin Jefferson, right? And so was Tyler T. Higgins. These wide receivers and their quarterbacks that were drafted before and around him popped off faster than he did because he was hurt. If he started week 1, same thing with Jalen Reagor week 1, I do believe his numbers could have been a lot better. I think one of the most disappointing facts is that Ayuk wasn't healthy. Like I just repeated myself, but if he was there, I definitely think you would have had a much different discussion. He potentially could have had close to 1,000-yard season. Yes. Of those 4, I would say he's definitely the most slept on. I think there's very good rookie wide receivers from last year, but a lot of them are just being over-talked about, so you can't even undervalue them.
Reagor. Is it Reagor?
Reagor,
Reagor, and who's the kid in Philly?
Reagor.
Reagor, and who's the kid in Las Vegas?
Oh, is that Ruggs?
Ruggs. Okay, so Ruggs was...
What's the Denver one?
Judy.
Judy, the other Alabama guy.
Judy, Ruggs, Reagor. I think they still need the latter 2. I think Judy needs a quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think the other 2 need to prove they can stay healthy and actually be contributors.
I think Bridgewater could get it done up there.
But what's his name's outperforming him right now.
I know, that crazy.
So
I might have to change my mind on him. He might be a secret stud.
I know we've been going a little long. I know you have a hot cake.
A hot cake?
Hot take, hot clock, whatever.
We're not even at 50 minutes yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, the hot clock could take a while. So
it kind of can.
All right. So
do you have one?
I'll let you go first.
Mine's long. Is yours short?
Mine are never short, but
okay.
You can go.
Mine's not.
Okay.
You guys are about to see a whole new side of me. You ready for this, Mark?
Sure.
Mark rolled his eyes. He doesn't even know what's happening yet. So I'm going to use some numbers here. Quarterback A, quarterback B, quarterback C. You ready?
Yep.
Try to pay attention as best you can. Quarterback A, 1,400 yards, 104 touchdowns, 36 interceptions, 104 QBR. Quarterback B, 1,700 yards, 106 TDs, 40 interceptions, 98 QBR.
1,700 yards? So only 1,700 yards for the season?
That one quarterback was hurt for one season.
Okay, so we're talking about Dak.
One of them.
Okay.
But there's another one. There's 3.
Okay.
This post has nothing to do with Dak, really. The last one is 18,000 yards, 107 TDs. So the same as the other ones, 55 interceptions, 90 QBR. So the lowest of the QBRs. Here's what's interesting about the 3. The first one, QB has a 1-2 playoff record. QB2 has a 1-2 playoff record. QB3 has a 3-2 playoff record. Gets better here. In those playoff games, QB1 has 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Quarterback 2 has 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And in the playoff games, quarterback 3 has 1,300 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Out of all 3 of these, the last stat I wanted to name was, in the entire career of QB1, he's had 4 offensive Pro Bowlers with him. In the entire time of quarterback 2, he's had 7 offensive Pro Bowlers with him. One more year. Quarterback 2 played one more year than quarterback 1.
Okay.
Quarterback 3 has the same amount of years, has 4 Pro Bowlers. So obviously quarterback 2 has more Pro Bowlers. Here's my next point of this. The quarterbacks with a winning record against teams over 500 is Big Ben, Jimmy G, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, and Tom Brady. Nobody else. Aaron Rodgers isn't on that list. Nobody else on that list. Now, we'll start in the beginning. One last thing. Quarterback A, his career record against winning teams is 7-19.
Okay.
.269. Quarterback 2 is 13-20 against winning teams. .393. Quarterback 3 is 14-17. .451. The moral of the story is all 3 of these quarterbacks have been called elite in different points of their careers. I'm going to say these are all average starters with fantasy numbers. All 3 of them. Every single one of them. Quarterback 1 is Deshaun Watson. Quarterback 2 is Dak Prescott.
I was going to ask you to let me name them.
Oh. Well, what's number 3 then?
I was going to say Stafford.
Quarterback 3 is Jared Goff.
Jared Goff?
Yep.
Okay.
So Jared Goff sorry, I should have let you name them. Dak has had 4 more offensive Pro Bowlers than the other 2, but all 3 right now, I'm going into this season as overrated quarterbacks until they prove me wrong. I don't like seeing lists where Deshaun Watson is listed as an elite quarterback when he's done nothing in his league. He's done nothing in his career that's any different than the other 2 at all. His career winning percentage against winning teams is .25 almost. That's absolutely horrendous. People are like, well, he's only had 4 Pro Bowlers, and Dak's only had 7. So what? 3 more? Okay, that's great. Our offensive line's a little bit better. Even Jared Goff has 1,800 yards. He's 4,000 more yards than the other 2 with the same touchdowns and almost 15 more interceptions. And he's considered sometimes an elite quarterback to some people. Not us, obviously. The point is I call Dak overrated. That doesn't mean I don't want him leading my team because I do think he has it. But the word I'm saying is in no world Deshaun Watson or Jared Goff or Dak Prescott an elite quarterback and should stop being put in the top 5 of quarterbacks. The reason I did this hot clock is because I saw a list. 3 different USA Today, Sports Illustrated, and ESPN listed Deshaun Watson, as of last year, an elite top 5 quarterback in the league. And I haven't seen it. They're all fantasy quarterbacks until I'm proved differently. And that's my hot clock, including Dak Prescott.
Okay. All right, that's fair.
So
I don't know anybody that would put Goff as elite.
Well, I wanted to put a third quarterback around the same draft class. I couldn't use Wentz because he's missed too many games.
Okay.
But that was the other one I was going to use was Wentz. I thought about using Winston. Too many interceptions would give that away. So I'm trying to find somebody comparable. Now, I will say Dak and Goff have 1 more year than Watson, obviously. So Watson has the same touchdowns and interceptions with 1 less year than Dak.
Yeah.
But remember, Dak did also miss 14 games this year. 13 games. So a little bit different. My point is neither one of them can beat winning teams. Neither can Goff. And it's very few quarterbacks who can. So to kind of end the argument we've done before for the last year of the podcast is Dak doesn't beat winning teams. I have a list of teams of quarterbacks who don't beat winning teams. And it's a long list. It's 26 other quarterbacks have not beat a winning team record. And it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
But
just a shout out to us. Almost. I think we're pretty close to a year.
We are. We missed a few weeks moving and a few other things. We're about 5 episodes away, so we're going to be over a year. I think this next episode will be a year. We started with 2 weeks left of preseason.
Yeah. So
that's pretty exciting.
That's interesting. So
the moral of the story, real fast, is that I just wanted to end with the fact that I am a Dak Prescott fan. Obviously, I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. I think he has what's best for Dallas. I don't think he's what's best for other teams, and I think I want him as my quarterback. That doesn't mean I don't like Deshaun Watson. What I'm saying is, to me, I've said it for years, I don't see them as any different. They're 6 and 7 ranked in the league. I don't see one of them as being elite. I just see them both as needing to finally do it. And I don't, pardon my French here, I don't know if Deshaun Watson will for a while. He's got a little bit of water to deal with right now.
Yep.
But we're going to disregard that and just say that's kind of my hot clock there.
Yep. Okay.
Go ahead, Mark.
My hot clock is, it's an idea I had.
Uh-oh.
Because I was listening to, again, 105.7 The Fan. Shout out to those guys. Thanks for
they're nauseating.
And
how do you do that, by the way? How do you not throw up on the drive?
It's hard because I'm not a Ravens fan, and they wear purple sunshades 24/7. But
you
my
can take
idea
your
was,
orange ones off too. It's fine.
But my idea was this: is as a fan and as somebody that follows a team as regularly as I do with my team, I always feel like I am very biased to a point, but I'm not. Okay, because I'm not, and I'll admit that. And I like to think that I am. And I guarantee you, all these radio hosts that cover all their teams, the radio hosts that cover Washington, the radio hosts that cover New England, the radio hosts that cover whoever they cover, okay, I guarantee you they like to think of themselves as biased, and they're looking at their players and rating their players biasly. They're not. Just like I'm not. Because I'm really excited for this season of Bengals football this year. And it's not because of the preseason. It's not because of this. It's because of who they signed and everything I hear and everything I read. Okay? That makes me excited. But I want to see Bengal reporters evaluate the Steelers, evaluate the Ravens, evaluate the Browns. And I want the Ravens radio station to do the same thing. I want to hear their take on the other teams in your division. I want to hear them tell me what they honestly see on the field. I want them to go to every practice. I want them to do and I want it to be reversed. So you're not getting the cherry pickings of what's great on there. And I hear the Ravens have no offensive line. Okay? No. Two of their offensive linemen, Charlie Villanueva is he's going to get Lamar killed.
I'll be honest, the entire AFC North might be the worst offensive line division in the entire country.
It's going to be very interesting. Well, the Browns have a very good offensive line.
Yeah. They're probably the best. Yeah, in the league. In the division.
I want to see that. Yeah. I want to see these people evaluate the other teams in there for the whole preseason, for the whole reason of doing everything and that's what I want to see. And I want to see it because I think it would be more interesting. I think you'd get a better evaluation of these teams. Instead of always hearing how blah, blah, blah is taking the top off the field and then preseason starts and, you're never going to see them. I think the Ravens I honestly feel the Ravens need a new strength and conditioning coach because Marlon Humphreys is down with a soft tissue injury.
They must have hired the 49ers guy.
Bateman is down for 4 to 8 weeks with a soft tissue injury. Hollywood Brown is coming right back, but he had a soft tissue. Like, they're having these groin problems. And if you're a rookie wide receiver and you're drafted by the Ravens, just consider yourself not playing week 1 of your rookie year because you're hurt. Yeah. Like, it's just such bad luck by them. But that's my idea. That it's not really something I'm fired up about. It's not something I'm angry about. I just would love to see that because everybody's going 17-0, and everybody has the best team in football, and all these guys are promising and going to put up numbers and blah, blah, blah. And it's just, for me, that's what I would love to see. So
I want to pull this up real quick to say that for you. So Mike Fisher is Dallas Cowboys beat reporter. I follow him on Facebook. He's this ugly-looking feller. But I follow him because if I scroll through here, and this happens every day, you see it starts here with his page. It's got 5 Cowboys moves, promising whatever. The next one is Texas Longhorns, because he's a Texas fan. The third post, does Washington football team's Chase Young make the underrated top 100 list? The next post, Giants cut former Washington football team leading rusher. His opinion, talking about the Vikings. Then he talks about the Hawks. Then a few more down, he's talking about Houston. And then he goes again, and then he'll talk about D.C. again. Here's D.C. again. So the point I like to say is I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I like Mike Fisher because he reports every move the Giants, Eagles, and D.C. does. He reports how Fitzpatrick's looking, and not saying Fitzpatrick looks old. He made a post today saying Fitzpatrick looks really good in practice, connecting well with the young guys. I'm like, good. Mm-hmm. That's what a reporter should do. A reporter should report the entire division because a lot of people who follow Dallas Cowboy pages are Dallas Cowboys fans, but we are NFC East fans. Yes, I would like to punch all the other fans in the face, but we are all fans of the same conference, and the goal is to learn as much about these other teams because when we play DC, whenever week we play them, I want to know everything their team's doing and getting up to that date. Okay. I agree with that idea. I'd like to see more people do that.
Yep.
So
but yeah.
What else you got, man?
No, I got nothing else. Hopefully we'll see you next week, as long as our schedules align.
Yep.
And there will be another week in the books of preseason. Another
Ooh. The draft is this week.
Monday the 23rd.
Yep. So after you guys hear this,
the A.D.D. draft will be. We'll take a deep dive into the A.D.D. draft. I think that day.
We'll probably be recording sometime that week. So after the draft is over, we'll go through everybody's teams. Maybe next week.
Because next week, actually next week's a very good week for me. I got Saturday off. I work 7 to 5 on Sunday, and then I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off.
How did that happen?
I took some PTO.
Good for you.
Right? PTO and a couple days off.
We do like a 3-hour podcast special.
We could call up a few of the guys that are in the draft and get their take on their teams.
Can we get Ace Unit in here before we do that?
So next week you'll have the inaugural A.D.D. draft will have happened, and we'll let you know what happened and what we think was good, bad, ugly.
Yep.
And we'll go from there. But other than that, everybody have a good week.
Have a fantastic week, guys.